Hello. Hi, welcome. My name is Tim Bartley, and I am a hypnotherapist. I have been conducting hypnotherapy sessions for about 10 years now, and I've conducted thousands of sessions. I want to talk to you about a couple of very important things today. Anxiety, depression. Why do we develop these? Why do they come in? Most people don't understand. Most people don't understand how their minds work. So I want to go over this. I think this is very, very important. I've worked with thousands of people, and what I've noticed, the very first step in change, in positive change, to get the life that you want to get, is knowledge. So this is a good place to begin. Before I get going, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I want to explain how our minds work, how we develop these problems, and I'll give you a little bit of insight into how, working with my clients, we clear these away. So on the website, if you'd like to know more about me, you can click on the Meet Tim Bartley link. I also conduct and specialize in distance therapy. I work with people all over the world via telephone and Skype. So to get that information, click on Office Locations. That explains that segment. And then I have frequently asked questions. There's a link there. Or just click on the Getting Started link and go through that. Okay? So a little bit about me. I started my full-time practice back in 2005. I work with emotional, habitual, and physical disorders. I'm a hypnotherapist. I conduct sessions pretty much every day. However, I'm also a trainer. I'm an author. I worked for a year at the Women's Health Center at Herrick Hospital in Tecumseh, Michigan. I've conducted seminars, both educational seminars as well as group hypnosis seminars. So I'm pretty good at what I do. I really am. And I'm really excited to share this information with you today. Okay, before I can actually explain to you how I do what I do, you really first have to understand how your mind works. So I'll be brief, okay? I just want to give you a working knowledge, okay? We don't have one mind working as one unit. It's actually divided into three. And these three parts, they have their own sets of jobs that they do. They do interrelate and they do communicate, but not well. And therein lies why you and me and everybody gain problems, issues, challenges as we go through life. So your conscious mind, that's where I want to start. You have your conscious, subconscious, and unconscious. Your conscious mind's the part of you that's in the front seat, in control, while you're awake. It's where your short-term memory is. It's where willpower resides. And willpower was never meant for long-term change. Its only function is short-term mental adrenaline toward any goal, short-term. It's obviously analytical, problem-solving. And then there's something very important. It's called your critical factor. What this is if we hear ideas or suggestions from the outside world, they will either be allowed into our subconscious, which is the real you, or they won't. For instance, if somebody is walking around on the programming, oh, I'm a dummy, I'm a stupid person. That's their subconscious mind's program. If somebody comes in from the outside world and says, boy, Tim, you're really stupid. Well, I can accept that, right? Because that's the programming I'm running on. So that idea, that thought is actually moved into my subconscious mind. It becomes a part of me. Let's say I'm really bummed out because I feel like I'm a stupid person, and my best friend calls me on the phone, builds me up for a whole hour. We hang up. You know what? I feel pretty good. Maybe I'm not so dumb. Well, track me down in about a week, and what you'll discover is I have, gone back to my programming that I'm a stupid person. So this critical factor, it develops in us between 5 and 6 years old. Between those times, that's when it develops. That's why you can go to a little kid and say, oh, you lost a tooth? Well, put it under the pillow, and a tooth fairy will come and give you $1. Really? Yeah. Of course, when they get to be about 7 years old or so, they start questioning all this. Well, is there a tooth fairy? Is there Santa Claus? Why I'm telling you this is the critical factor in the conscious mind. Basically what the definition of hypnosis is, it's the bypass of this critical factor. So we can actually make positive changes. So that's your conscious mind. Your subconscious mind, that's the part that I'm going to be talking to in session. It's about 1 billion times more powerful than Mr. Stupid conscious mind, okay? What does it do? It's where your long-term memory is. I can take you back to any moment in your life, all the way back to a couple of months before you were born. We can relive the entire event all over again. It's where your habits are, your patterns of behavior. It tries to protect you against things that are real or imagined. Doesn't really know the difference. And it's where all your emotions are. Good place to work, okay? Anxiety, depression. That's where it's at. It's in the subconscious mind. Then your unconscious mind, that's the part of your mind that governs your body. If you eat a sandwich, you don't have to think about digesting it. Your heart rate, your respiration, all the bodily functions are there. Unfortunately, our unconscious mind is a slave to our subconscious mind. There's a couple of terms for this: psychogenetic, somatiform, or psychosomatic. What that means is there's an emotion causing a physical response. I work with a lot of physical disorders. So how that works, or a really good understanding of that, is the act of crying. If an emotion like sadness or grief has built up in the subconscious mind, the unconscious mind will give you a physical response. Your eyes will start leaking. That's a really good way to understand it. So in the things that I work with the physical disorders that I clear away, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, irritable bowels, restless leg syndrome, migraine headaches, skin disorders, allergies, asthma, high blood pressure, osteoarthritis. There's a long list. And why we have those problems is what I just described. That unconscious mind is giving these people a physical response. I also work with emotional problems. I might as well just go through it. Emotional problems such as depression, anxiety, panic, self-esteem issues, fears, phobias, post-traumatic stress, OCD. I work with habitual problems as well: alcoholism, substance abuse, weight loss. So those are the things I work with. Now, your mind, I just briefly described how it works. There's another piece to it. We all have brain waves going on. Our brains are electrical. So we have beta, alpha, theta, and delta. Beta is when your brain waves are very tightly knit together, you're really focused. Below that is alpha. Your brain waves have slowed down a little bit. That's why we find ourselves daydreaming. And then, what was that, Tim? That's why we daydream, because our brainwaves slowed down. Below that is the theta brainwave state, or you could call it hypnosis. I really don't like the word hypnosis a whole lot. It's really the theta brainwave state. And then below that is delta. You fell asleep. So throughout every single day, your brainwaves are speeding up and slowing down. Nobody's like totally locked in all day long to what they're doing. No. So you go into the state of hypnosis, or the theta brainwave state, at least a dozen times a day. Let me ask you, have you ever driven your car, you reach your destination, and you're like, how did I get here? Or have you ever read a book and you've turned several pages and you are reading the words and you're like, what did I just read? Or think back in school, the teacher is going on and on and on, and you kind of come back from wherever you were and you're like, did anybody notice I tuned out for a while? That's hypnosis. That's the theta brainwave state. And you might say, well, why would you want to go there? Why would a hypnotist or hypnotherapist want to put me in that state? Well, when you're in that state of mind, your very powerful subconscious mind comes forward, and I'm able to talk directly to it, and it does know the answer. It really does. So that's how your mind works. It's very important to know that. So, how do we develop anxiety? How do we develop depression? I will tell you, this is how it works. It starts off with a belief system. That's number one. Then that goes to negative self-thinking. Then that goes to emotions, which are negative. And then the emotion dictates the behavior. I'll give you an example. When I was a little kid, my dad sat me down, showed me the bills. Okay, I was one of 5 children. And he's like, well, Tim, did you know that we pay for the water? This is how much I paid. I'm like, no, I didn't know that. This is the car payment. This is how much the food cost. So what the belief is that I got is money is difficult. Money is a struggle. That was the belief system that I inherited from my parents. So there's the belief. That leads to negative self-talk. Oh, wow, look at that car. That's a beautiful car. Man, I'd love to. Oh, well, I'll never have a car like that. Not me. Then that leads to the third piece, emotions. How does that feel, knowing that I'll never have a car like that? How does it feel that I know that money is a struggle and I'll never have enough? And then that leads to behaviors. What might I do? Maybe there's a fantastic job that I'm qualified for, but I don't even try for it because, well, I know I'll never get that. It's exactly the same with anxiety and depression. So this is really the way it works. The emotion that you are feeling that's causing you these difficulties is really not the emotion of you as an adult. Let me ask you, have you ever heard this term, time heals all wounds? Have you ever heard that? Well, that is true for your conscious mind. But for your twin sister or your twin brother, subconscious mind, it's the opposite. As time moves forward, negative feelings magnify. They get bigger and bigger and bigger. Example, 7, 8 years ago, I had a woman call me. I'm clinically depressed. She named the medications. And she said, I know why I'm depressed. I'm like, okay, well, why? My daughter committed suicide. And since then, I've been a wreck. That is not why she was depressed. That was something called a subsequent event. It was a pretty major event, but if we only found that and neutralized that, she would have still been depressed. That is not it. So what I did in session is I built that feeling up. I had her subconscious mind take her back to where it began. 3 years old. She's in the crib, crying out for mom and dad. Mom and dad always show up, except for this day. And all of a sudden, it's the first time she ever felt the feeling of abandonment. Now, if that's the only event, or maybe she only had a couple events, that feeling wouldn't magnify. But this is the way it works. Your subconscious mind is literal. It's not logical. That's what the conscious mind does. So, boom, she's 3 years old in the crib. And then maybe a year or 4 or 10 years later, boom, there's another event that emotionally feels the same way as the first event. Then she hits another one, then another one, then another one, then another one. Then her daughter commits suicide. And then another one, then another one. Every time she hits one of these events, subconsciously, the emotion magnifies. It gets a little bigger, a little bigger, a little bigger, a little bigger. Consciously, you do not know this is happening. You don't know until it gets big enough. And when it gets big enough, well, you get anxiety, panic, physical problems, fibromyalgia. That's really the way it works. That is how our minds work. And if you go to a talk therapist, they're going to want to sit you down and talk to you about every single time you ever felt anxiety or depression or whatever. Not needed. Your subconscious, it's kind of like a computer, and it's running on these programs. If you don't go in and uninstall those programs that are causing the problem's still going to be there. Now, when a lot of people think of hypnotherapy, if you go, decades back, what it was all about was something called direct suggestion. So if you come in, we do a session, and you tell me, oh, well, I feel horrible, in the morning and at night and on the weekends. Well, then I'm going to sit down. If I just did direct suggestion, I would sit down and say, okay, well, in the morning, well, now you feel good. Where once you felt really like down and depressed and uptight, now you feel really good. Notice how good you feel. You're going to find that you feel good walking out the door. You're going to find that you feel happy and positive and blah, 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 blah. At the end of that session, guess what? You'd feel pretty good. You'd be like, wow, that guy is good. I really feel great. It won't last. I'm sorry, it will not last. Because we didn't find out why the anxiety is there. We didn't find out why the depression is there. We didn't find the root cause. So you might feel the other way, you might feel good for a day or a week or something, but it will come back. That's not the way I work. So let me give you a little bit of insight. Let me give you some insight into how I actually do work. I use a lot of different tools. I use something called timeline therapy, age regression. I do associated types of things and disassociated. I use something called NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming. I use something called chair therapy. I use something called parts therapy. And what I've done, I've really come up with something that is just really pretty amazing. I have to say I feel pretty good about it because I created it. Now, I didn't create it from scratch. I've been through 2 of the best schools in the country. I've read a lot of books. I've talked and worked with a lot of counselors. I really have. And I've taken just like little bits from different people and I've combined them. And it works just wonderfully. So, let me give you some insight. Let's say you have anxiety, or depression. It doesn't matter. And I'll ask you, well, when does that hit you the worst? Let's say you say, well, it's in the morning, when I'm alone, and on the weekends. Okay, because I'm kind of like a lawyer. I need to build a case. So the first part of the session is just a lot of focus on this, relax this, focus and relax. It's really mainly about focus. When you focus your mind, your brainwaves slow down. You could stare at a dot on the wall for 10 minutes. You will go into hypnosis or the theta brainwave state. It's all about focus. That's the first little while. Then I would say this. Well, we all have different parts of ourselves. It's kind of like when the alarm clock goes off in the morning. There's a part of you that doesn't want to get up, just want to hit the snooze button. But then there's another voice in your head, another part comes forward and says, well, I don't know about that. I've got to get up, I've got to get out the door. I'm going to be late. And that dialogue between those 2 parts, it goes on until you make a decision. You either hit the snooze button or you get up. Well, I'll have you imagine. Well, I'll just go through it. Imagine we're sitting at a table. And it's kind of like a conference room table. There's chairs all the way around. There's a couple of empty chairs right in front of you. Now, you would agree with me, wouldn't you, that there's a part within you, a part that brought you here, that no longer wants anxiety, no longer wants depression. You'd agree with that, wouldn't you? Yeah. Okay. So what I do is I'm going to identify the part that wants to change, and I'm going to identify the causative part, the part that's causing the problem. So stare at that empty chair over there. As I talk to you, a shape, an image is going to come into that chair. This could be anything. It could be a white cloud, a pink heart. Maybe it'll look like you. Because there is a part that wants this change. There's a part that wants to be healthy and happy. There's a part of you that wants to move forward in life every day feeling better. And I build that up like a lawyer. Now look into that chair. What does that look like? Well, that looks like me, only I'm happy. And there's like light, there's sunshine all the way around me. Oh, okay. So we have identified the shape. Let's identify the feeling. So what does that feeling look like? What's the emotion? Oh, it feels great. I feel free. Oh, okay. Now this part usually only talks to you. But today, I would like to talk directly with this part. What shall we call this part? Happy me. Okay. Well, thank you, happy me. So all three of us are sitting at the table. I'm sitting here, you're sitting here, and happy me just showed up. Now I want you to stare at the empty chair next to happy me. Keep looking at it, because a shape, an image is going to take a form in that chair. And then what I do is I build up the feeling. There's a feeling you have. There's a feeling that comes up in the morning. It's there on the weekends. It's there when you're alone. There's that feeling you don't like it. It has been totally blocking happy me. I want you to begin to feel that feeling. Let it come forward. Look in that chair. What does that image look like over there? What's that shape? Oh, it's a black cloud. I hear black a lot. Black cloud, it looks like me, but I'm all dark. Oh, there's a black cloud. There's a feeling there. What's the feeling? Fear. Now here's the thing. I'm trying to find the shape, the emotion, we're going to name it, right? When you are labeled with anxiety or labeled with depression, not usually, but most of the time, a lot of the time, it's something else. It could be too much grief. It could be too much anger. It could be fear. It could be anything under the sun. No kidding. I mean, I've conducted thousands of sessions. No kidding. Those labels are just gigantic labels. It's like a big title. It doesn't even begin to tell you really what's going on. So we've got the black cloud. The feeling is fear. Okay, well, this part's been talking to you. It's been communicating with you, but today I want to talk directly with this part. What shall we call it? Fear. Okay, fear. So now all four of us are sitting at the table. I'm here, you're here, fear is here, and happy me is here. Fear, I want to talk directly with you. You can use client's vocal cords or give her your thoughts without harming her in any way. You have a job that you've been doing inside of her. What have you been doing? A task that you've been performing. Are you here to punish or to protect? What is it that you've been doing? Punishment or protection? Oh, I've been protecting her. Oh, okay. How do you accomplish this protection? Well, I keep her away from people. I keep her at home. Oh, well, how do you do that? I make her so nervous she doesn't want to go out, or so depressed and down that she doesn't really want to deal with any. Oh, okay. So let me get this straight, fear. So if she's scared enough or has enough anxiety or sadness, then she won't want to leave her house. And if she doesn't leave her house, then she's protected because she won't get hurt. Is that right? Yes, that's what I'm doing. Okay. Now here's the belief system. This is how I find the belief system. Very easy. Bad part. I think I called it fear. Fear. Look over at client. What do you believe to be true about her? What are your beliefs about her? You wouldn't believe what I've heard at this stage. No kidding. You know, sometimes, oh, she's a good person. That comes up once in a while, but you know what? Oh, she deserves to be tortured. Oh, okay, what else? She deserves to die. Okay, so I get the beliefs, okay? And then I want to find out when this part was born. So, you know, my client, her life is like a timeline. We're at the now position. And right now, fear, you're here. But if you go back 10 years, 30 years, 80 years, 800 years, there was a time that you were not here. You were not with her. But then You showed up. On a moment, an event, a situation, something happened and you showed up. In a moment, I'm gonna snap my fingers, and when I do, a number is gonna pop into your mind. That's gonna be the answer to this question. Fear. How old was client? What was her age when you first showed up? 4. 4 years old, okay. When you do show up, does she feel your presence physically? Can she feel you in her head, her chest, her stomach? Or no? No, not really. Okay. Now let's pause here. What have we done? And about as quick as I'm saying this to you. We've identified the part that wants to change. We've identified the part causing the problem. I know what the real emotion is. I know what the belief system is. Pretty good, huh? Now, fear. I want you to take client's hand. I want you to take her back to the very first moment, the very first situation where you were first born within her. And I want you to take her there. I want you to show her everything that's happening. Who's there, what they're talking about, how she feels. Take her back there now. And when you show up, just say, we're here. We're here. Oh, okay. Now what's going on? Are you inside or outside? Is it daytime or nighttime? Are you alone or with somebody else? Give me a full report. What's going on? Now I'm going to get the first time. Remember the example in the crib when that woman was in the crib crying out for mom and dad? That's what this is. Technically speaking, it's called the initial sensitizing event. It's what I'm looking for. Whatever the negative emotion is, not only are we going to pluck it out, but we're going to install an empowered, positive emotion. That's what we do. Then, I'll say this, on the count of 3, come on back to the current time and place, count of 3. We're going to be back at the table, 1, 2, 3. Now, I can see you here. Can you see me? Oh, yeah, I see you. Hey, do you see a happy me sitting over there? Oh, yeah. She looks even happier now. Great. Now, who else is here? Look around the table. Nobody. Oh, nobody. So fear's not here anymore? No, fear's not here anymore. Do you realize how powerful that is, what I just told you? It's extremely powerful. That's like how you go from anxiety, depression to not having anxiety and depression. It's one piece of the puzzle. Now, I work with a lot of people. Some people had horrible childhoods. I had a woman a year ago, she had the worst childhood I've ever heard. Her mother literally murdered people in front of her. No kidding. Her mother gave her up for prostitution starting at the age of 4. And when she told me these stories, I'm like, I don't know if I believe this person. And when I started working with her, unfortunately, it was true. Her mind was taking her back to these events. So I never know who I'm working with. Sometimes, boom, 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 even as quick as one session, we can just get rid of it permanently. Sometimes it takes a few sessions. Sometimes I have to pull out different tools out of my toolbox. I just showed you one tool. I had a woman, she's actually a friend of mine now. Her name's Jaya. She came to me 2 years ago, fibromyalgia. She had fibromyalgia for something like 23 years. She had to retire early because of the pain and the fatigue. She just couldn't go to work anymore. One session. Where did her mind take her? Her mind took her back 7 years old. She was from Malaysia. They had this gigantic flood and she drowned. She died. Obviously they resuscitated her, but that was the cause of the fibromyalgia. Now let me ask you this. Do you think she had fibromyalgia when she was 7? No. 10 years old? No. 15, 20 years old? Nope, nope. No, she didn't develop fibromyalgia until her mid-30s. But that's what I'm talking about. It doesn't come on like that. It doesn't. It takes a while. It takes those subsequent events. It takes the emotion magnifying in the subconscious mind to get to the point where you have symptoms. And what do we do in our culture in the United States? We go to the doctor, and then we get medicated. Most medication, especially for depression and anxiety, is not curative. It's not going to cure you. It's going to allow you to be functioning. You'll be a functioning person. Unfortunately, I've seen this a lot of times. It makes people like a complete robot. I mean, they're just, they're not feeling anything. So anyway, I hope that gave you some really good insight. I've conducted thousands of sessions. I mean, I used to keep track. I stopped at 3,000. That was a long time ago. So I'm quite good at what I do. If you want a change in your life, if you want to remove the anxiety and the depression, we can do it rather quickly. It's like a handful of sessions or less. If you go to talk therapists, come on in once a week for like ever. Not needed. Really, it's not needed, okay? So to reiterate, if you want to learn more about me, click on the Meet Tim Bartley link in the menu bar. If you want to learn more about how I conduct Skype sessions, telephone sessions, I've conducted sessions with people all over the world, all over the US, Netherlands, the UK, Australia. 2 weeks ago, I did a session with a woman in Kenya, Africa. So distance is of no concern. And people say, well, is that good? Is that as good as coming into the office? It's better. Where would you relax more? Sitting right in front of me with your eyes closed, or in your own home? Distance is of no concern. So check out the office locations link. And then if you have other questions, click on the Getting Started link and go through those steps. And there's a frequently asked questions link where I've actually put together a bunch of short little video tapes. I'm a trainer. I do a lot of training. So I'm used to being on camera. I do a lot of videos. And I don't know. I don't think too many people want to sit there and read through pages and pages and pages of things. So I've got all the answers. I've got all the knowledge on the website. If you have any questions at all, just give me a call or shoot me an email. Or I have a contact link. Just type in your question there. Whatever you want. Consultations are free, so I'd love to talk to you. And I know I can help you out. So anyway, thanks a lot for watching this video. Thank you for letting me present this information to you. I really enjoyed it. And I hope to talk to you soon. Have a great day.